Comey's comments came during a wide-ranging interview in which the former FBI chief, who had long prided himself on being above the political fray, unloaded on the president who fired him in unusually personal and caustic terms, describing Trump as a congenital liar who was morally unfit to serve in the White House. Comey's strong language, unprecedented for a former FBI director, could be seen in part as a response to the president's relentless attacks on him. In just the last few days, as Comey's about-to-be-released book, A Higher Loyalty, has begun getting media attention, President Trump has tweeted repeatedly about him, calling Comey a slimeball, a liar and a leaker. When Comey originally told Trump that he was not personally the target of the FBI probe, information that he volunteered at a meeting at Trump Tower on January 6, 2017, he did so against the advice of his chief lawyer. The FBI General Counsel was concerned about me in the first instance, telling then-President-elect Trump he wasn't under investigation, Comey said, according to a transcript of the full interview, only portions of which were aired on the Sunday night broadcast. It was potentially misleading, and also would create a duty to correct that. And there was a challenge also with, so what's the limiting principle? If they ask, is the vice president under investigation, do you answer that? Comey described how, nevertheless, Trump repeatedly pushed him to make a public declaration that he was not being investigated by the FBI. Even though he had already privately told congressional committees that Trump was not a target, Comey resisted doing so publicly, in part, he suggested, because of the advice he got from his general counsel. That general counsel, James Baker, has since been removed from that position. So the president was calling me to tell me how frustrating he found that, and it was getting in the way of his ability to make deals for the country, Comey said. And he wanted to lift the cloud, he called it a cloud. And so wanted me to get out that he wasn't under investigation. But this time, Comey had become convinced that Trump himself might be engaging in obstruction of justice, especially after the president asked him at one meeting that he hopes the FBI could drop its investigation into former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. Comey documented that request, which he said he took as direction in one of several memos he wrote to leave a record of his communications with Trump. What part of you is thinking also, I am collecting evidence on the president? Stephanopoulos asked Comey. Well, part of me is thinking that because of the potential obstruction issue, Comey said. But also I continued to believe that there was force to the FBI General Counsel's argument that we are going to have to look at the president. You're inevitably going to look at his conduct, because he's the head of the campaign. For all his criticism of Trump, Comey didn't spare himself. He acknowledged that he most likely made a mistake when he accepted a compromise of sorts with Trump during a private dinner at the White House, partly because he was startled by the president saying, "I expect loyalty, I need loyalty." Comey elaborated on a tense conversation that he first recounted during Senate testimony last year. At first, Comey said, when Trump made the loyalty request, I couldn't say yes, I couldn't nod, and so I just froze and stared at him. When Trump pressed him a second time, he said he replied, "You will always get honesty from me." And he paused and then he said, "Honest loyalty," as if he was proposing some compromise or a deal. And I paused and said, "You'll get that from me." And, of course, in between those two, the loyalty sandwich, in between those two, I had an opportunity to explain to him the FBI's role and how important it was for the FBI to be independent and how I thought about it, Comey said. But did you cross a line there? Did you cross a line when you promised him honest loyalty? Stephanopoulos asked. Would it be fair for Trump to think, wait, I have a deal here? Was it a mistake? Maybe, Comey replied. Maybe I should have been tougher or more direct, especially given what I know now. At the time, I obviously couldn't see the future. But given what I know now, maybe it would have been better to give a more explicit say, "Sir, I can't promise you loyalty. Given the nature of my role, I can promise you I'll always tell you the truth," Comey said. But in the moment, frankly, it didn't occur to me. and maybe I didn't have the guts to do it.